Hi everyone, so here's a little video I do one every year about how to pot up your dahlias. The first thing I want to say is that it's nearing the end of March, so it's still very early to be starting off your dahlias because it's a little bit chilly and dahlias won't start to sprout until the soil gets to around 15 degrees. So a lot of people make the mistake of potting them up because they want them to grow so much and then overwatering them, and when you do that they will rot. So you can pot them up by all means, but please err on the side of caution when it comes to watering. I would even say don't make the soil moist. You could water them a little bit, but you shouldn't really water them too much until they start to sprout, and even then just minimal amounts. They will probably sprout all by themselves without any water at all. So that's my first piece of advice. You cannot plant them directly out in the garden in March because there is still the threat of frost, but you can start them off in a greenhouse or on a sunny windowsill if you don't have one, but please don't overwater them. So that's my first piece of advice. Now, tubers are not the most attractive things, and this is one that I've just found in my greenhouse that's been a little bit neglected. So this tuber here has got a little bit squishy and it's gone moldy. If you have tubers that have gone moldy like that, but you've still got some hard ones, then cut off the ones that are moldy and just go with those. There is a broken neck on this one as well. And we do get a lot of emails saying, this bit's fallen off, what do I do? The thing is, when they come to harvest them in Holland, they do that by machine, and so they pull them from the ground, and inevitably there are going to be some casualties. So this one has got a broken neck, and if I pull it off here, because of where it's broken from the tuber, this one doesn't have a crown and therefore won't be able to grow any flowers because it won't produce eyes. So eyes are like the tiny little dots on the crown, which will then become the stems, which will then produce your flowers. So that tuber's looking totally fine. I'd probably cut that bit off, and then when it comes to planting him, I'm going to put him and say hello, Alice. There's Daisy. She has a problem with her teeth, so she has to go to the mummy school of dentistry every 2 weeks to have them snipped, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Little bunny. You could go. You like eating dahlias, don't you? Cheeky bun. There you go. So when you're potting up your dahlias, don't forget you need good peat-free compost. So I'm going to put a bit in the bottom of this pot here, and then I'm going to pop the tuber in the soil like that and then cover it. So you're looking for the stalk, the sort of old stalk from last year, to be pointing out, sticking up, and then you cover it up to there. So I wouldn't now, I'd probably give it a little bit of a water now, but then I definitely wouldn't keep watering, otherwise it's going to rot. I've left the top a little bit proud just because I'm nosy and I like to see whether it's sprouting or not, and it doesn't harm the plant at all. So then what I'll do is I'll pop them in the greenhouse, and once the threat of frost has passed, usually around the middle of May, and hopefully they'll be like that by then, I'll be able to plant them directly out into the garden. Now the benefit of potting the dahlias up as opposed to directly planting them out is that they are much less likely to get eaten by slugs and snails. So slugs and snails are the absolute enemy when it comes to dahlias, and dahlias are like an absolute magnet. So whatever you do, you will need to protect them, and they're much more likely to survive once you've grown them on a little bit before you put them out in the garden. The main reason being you're able to see if they're being eaten, whereas if your tubers are in the ground and then you get a heavy rain and overnight you wake up in the morning, all those tiny little shoots are literally the most delicious part of the tuber for slugs and snails. So quite often we say, they never sprouted. Well, they probably did, but they got eaten before you realised it. So that's one thing. If you don't have a greenhouse, just pot them up and stick them on a sunny windowsill. Make sure you've got a tray underneath so you don't get soil on your windowsill. But you should see sprouts within 4 weeks from the end of March. So you're looking at the end of April time. If you haven't seen anything after 2 weeks, please don't worry. It's still pretty chilly and we are not done with the frosts just yet. Now this year, I want to let you in on a little secret. I've been doing an experiment with an electric blanket. Now, some of the heated propagated mats that you find online are quite expensive. So I decided to go rogue, and I put this tuber, which is last year's one. It's a jumbo one, so it's really big. So it's naturally going to have more energy. I put it on the windowsill, and then I put a electric blanket underneath it. Obviously added a layer of, I put it on a tray so that when I did water it, none of the water went onto the electric blanket. Please, this is a disclaimer. If you do decide to do it, it's at your own risk. And probably a heated mat, whilst more expensive, is safer. But the electric blanket, if protected from the water, works perfectly fine. Doesn't draw a huge amount of electricity. And all of them, I planted them 4 weeks ago, and they're all sprouting really brilliantly. So the reason I have done that is because I want to take cuttings, and I'm going to show you now how to do that. The reason you would take cuttings is because every single cutting that you take off your tuber now will form a tuber in the ground over the course of the summer, and then you'll be able to triple, quadruple your dahlia stock just off this one tuber. So that's why they are an investment, so long as you look after them. So I've already got 1, 2, 3, 4, and I've got a 5th shoot coming through. What I'm going to do, I've got a little pot here. I'm going to, can't really see very well, but here we go. I'm going to put some soil into this pot here, and then I'm going to give it a little water. And make sure that is really moist. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my little knife, and ideally you want to get a little bit of the tuber out as well, because it's more likely to take if it has got a bit of the tuber. But this time last year I went to Holland and they were like ripping them off with no care whatsoever. So I was like, wow, all those years I've been looking after them so carefully. So you just want to cut the bottom, the shoot off at the base, off at the tuber, give it a little bit of a wiggle, wiggle. There we go. So that's my first shoot, and I'm going to take the leaves off the bottom, and I'm going to take those leaves off there because it reduces the amount of surface area for the plant to lose water. So we don't want them to dry out. So I'm going to take that, I'm going to pop it in the corner there like that. Right, so there you go. I've got my first one in there, and then I'm going to do that for all of the other sprouts. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn you around so you can get a better look. Right, there you go. So you can see there I've got another shoot coming there, so I'm going to leave that one, but this one here is pretty good. So I'm going to get this guy, go in with my knife, give it a wiggle, and that will get me my second shoot. And I'm going to take the leaves off like that, take that off there, and I'm just going to pop him in. Now you've got to be careful when you put them into the pot that you don't crush the stems. So another way you can do that is just put your knife in like that. Gonna make a little hole there and pop him in like that, and then tuck him in. Now the trick here is you have to keep them moist. So as opposed to the tubers, which mustn't be too moist, these ones must be kept moist. And I'm going to keep them in the greenhouse, and within a few weeks time I should be able to see the roots coming out the bottom, and those will be more tubers by the end of the season. And believe it or not, these ones will actually grow to the same height as the flowers grown from the tuber, which is absolutely incredible, isn't it? So if you're growing dahlias for the first time, give it a go. It is quite nerve-wracking because it does mean you removing some of the stems from your beloved tuber plant as it starts to grow, but By doing this early in the season, it means your tuber will have lots of opportunity to produce more stems, and you'll have quadruple the amount of flowers this year. So I really hope you found that video useful. If you did, subscribe to my YouTube channel, because we're going to be doing lots more growing dahlia videos throughout the season. And if you've got any questions, pop them in the comments below. I can get back to you then. Going in for a cup of tea now. See you later.